the polling that I've seen or anybody else has seen is not very good. There was a memo. My friend Jim Messina said, I said, Democrats need to quit bedwetting. But my wife's already changed me to rubber sheets.
Yes, James Carville wetting his bed so much that his wife has already switched him to rubber sheets. The Democrats they're in panic mode again, which makes them very dangerous because we know how violent they can be. Mob, street, political violence is their bag, baby. And now we're seeing that apparently at President Trump's trial in New York City, where closing arguments are scheduled to begin today, I think it's Fox News that is now reporting that the Biden campaign is going to send a representative to the courthouse to stand outside the courthouse and talk to a friendly media who will date them. When I say date, I'm using a euphemism. Remarkable stuff. Man, so much to talk about, and I do want to talk about all of it. Now, before we get going on that, I want to talk about, because as I said, the Biden campaign, according to Fox News, I guess, going to send a Biden campaign delegate. You know, President Trump has stopped outside the courthouse when going in and when departing and when leaving for lunch and spoken to the cameras. They still haven't figured out how to put a microphone anywhere close to him months into the trial. We become less technically capable, at least the American news media does, because I think they have armies of corruptniks doing this stuff. But if they're sending somebody, it's again the thumb on the scale, attempting. It's jury tampering. There once again, there's a lot of jury tampering going on here. Joe Biden announcing the White House telling their friends and friendly news media that when there is a verdict in the Trump trial, which may come as early as this week, even though we're starting the week a little late, starting the week on Tuesday, they're saying that Joe Biden will address the nation from the White House, which will look like a national political kind of thing reserved for a national emergency. But they're going to fabricate a national emergency. They're going to pretend it's the end of democracy. You know, you guys are the end of democracy. You're trying to put on trial and jail your political opponents like in any Oonga Balunga third world banana boat country. But we'll get back to that. The Democrats are in full panic mode, and this time it's not just their genders or their sexual orientation. This time it's a lot more than that. The left-wingers at Politico, they've got a story here that's a little bit entertaining, I think. And the headline is, Dems in full-blown freak-out over Biden. One advisor to major Democratic donors keeps a running list of reasons Biden could lose. They got this Nate Silver guy, Democrat, numbers cruncher, 537 is his website. And the news media loves him, and they pay great attention to him every election cycle. And Nate Silver recently declared last week, I guess, that, the Democrats should be looking for an alternative to Joe Biden if things keep going the way that things are going now. The Democrats have to have Plan B in place because Joe Biden might fall down a flight of stairs where there is no flight of stairs. That could happen very easily because Democrats. But the people at Politico in their playbook with the Dems in full-blown freakout mode reporting a pervasive sense of fear has settled in at the highest levels of the Democratic Party over President Joe Biden's reelection prospects, even among office holders and strategists who had previously expressed confidence about the coming battle with Donald Trump. Got to keep in mind that these people lie about everything all the time. So, you know, if you're married to one or you're dating one or you live next door to one, something like that, you know, you got to know that they're lying all the time. The Politico says, all year, Democrats have been on a joyless and exhausting grind through the 2024 election. But now, nearly 5 months from the election, anxiety has morphed into palpable trepidation. I think that was my favorite portion of a line there. Anxiety has morphed into palpable trepidation. I like it. According to more than a dozen party leaders and operatives, they're all dating each other, and they're all dating the people at Politico and the Washington Post, So they talked to more than a dozen of them because 8 was not nearly enough. Then they went back to their editors and said, okay, we have 10 now. 10 people that are, their anxiety has morphed into palpable trepidation. We've got 11 of them. No, you need more. All right, now we've got a dozen Democrats whose anxiety has morphed into palpable trepidation. And the gap between what Democrats will say on TV or in print and what they'll text their friends has only grown as worries have surged about Biden's prospects. Now, I mean, again, this is, and they've got, they're apocalyptic about everything, right? Now, I mean, you guys are the apocalypse. You're the left. You've murdered 100 million people in the last 100 years since your Bolshevik revolution in St. Petersburg. That Bernie Sanders was there for that. Did you know that? He's the one who pushed that baby stroller down the stairs. Yeah, that Potemkin moment there. The people at Politico now quoting a loyal Democrat saying, you don't want to be that guy who's on the record saying we're doomed or the campaign's bad or Biden's making mistakes. Nobody wants to be that guy, said a Democratic operative in close touch with the White House and granted anonymity to speak freely. He couldn't speak freely if he was not granted anonymity, so they had to be granted anonymity so he could speak freely. And then he said nobody wants to be the guy who tells the truth because they're all, one after another, lying Sacagawea, lying Sacagawea, lying Sacagawea. Nobody wants to be the guy who tells the truth about Biden making mistakes. Nobody wants to be the guy who says we're doomed or the campaign is bad. What campaign? But Biden's stubbornly poor polling and the stakes of the election, quote, are creating the freakout, end quote, he said. It isn't, oh my God, Mitt Romney might become president. It's, oh my God, the democracy might end. You guys really need to adjust your medication and start, if you're men, start dressing like men. If you're women, start dressing like women. Start acting like adults. Donald Trump has already been president for 4 years. Democracy was in better hands under Donald Trump than it has been under Joe Biden. And the world was in better hands under Donald Trump than it has been under Joe Biden. There was no Russian war against Ukraine, although they did annex the Crimea under Obama and Biden, but never mind that. Despite everything they type, Trump is running ahead, despite everything. I like the despite everything. Trump is running ahead of Biden in most battleground states. He raised far more money in April, and the landscape may only become worse for Democrats, with Trump's hush money trial concluding, and another, they say, this one involving the president's son set to begin in Delaware. So, yeah, Joe Biden and Hunter Biden and the crackhead and the stripper, knocker-upper, and the Russian hookers and the videos and the laptop and the big lies from our intelligence community and beyond. The concern has metastasized in recent days as Trump jaunted to some of the country's most liberal territories, including New Jersey and New York, to woo Hispanic and black voters as he boasted improbably that he would win in those areas. They're a gang of junior high school girls who have a crush on the quarterback, and they can't come to terms with what's happening. While he's long lagged behind Biden in cash on hand, Trump's fundraising outpaced the president's by $25 million last month. The news media has done their part. Their in-kind contributions worth hundreds of millions of dollars, honestly, and included a record-setting $50.5 million haul from an event in Palm Beach, Florida. One advisor to major Democrat donors provided a running list that has been shared with funders of nearly 24 reasons why Biden could lose, ranging from immigration, By that, they mean the open borders, illegal aliens by the millions, quite literally, including thousands and thousands of gang members, tens of just from the Venezuelan prisons alone, plus the tens of thousands of Chinese military-age men who had to be allowed to leave there by the Chinese Communist government. Now they got 2 military divisions inside of our borders, and if we had a news media, they might think that was a story of some interest. Amazing stuff, ranging from immigration and high inflation. They keep telling us that inflation is great. It's wonderful. Never mind the fact that food prices are up 30% and energy is up 40%. And then they say, oh, but this month, inflation is down from 9.1%, a 40-year high in inflation, thanks to Joe Biden and the Democrat policies. Amazing stuff. Now it's down, and it is to 3-point-something%, but the prices don't come back down. The prices are still sky high. Just amazing stuff. Yeah, high inflation and the unpopularity of Vice President Kamala Harris. Racist Democrats, they're sexist, they're misogynist, they're racist. Don't you know she's a WOC? She's a woman of color. That's a W is for woman, and O is for of, and C is for color. They like to wok. She's a wok. And you can cook stir fry in her, interestingly enough, but that's what they use. Yeah, the unpopularity of Kamala Harris and the presence of third-party candidates like Robert F. Kennedy Jr., whose father was assassinated by an Israel hater named Sirhan, and the Democrat parole board in California granted parole last year to Sirhan, just awaiting the signature of Democrat Governor Gavin Newsom. Amazing stuff. Donors ask me on an hourly basis what I think, the advisor said, calling it so much easier to show them. So while they read it, I can pour a drink. They're a bunch of drunks. There are a bunch of drunks over here. Listen to this. The advisor added, a list of why we couldn't win is, the list of why we could win is so small, I don't even need to keep the list on my phone. Reasons that they could win. So small. That list is so small. He doesn't even have to write it down. That didn't make it into the story, though, because it's a cover-up. It's the Politico. It's a left-wing front group for the Democrat Party. Remarkable stuff. Yes, sir. So that's your Politico playbook today, and they're in a panic, and that's the word that they're using, the panic. Lots of panic on the left, and they tell you if Trump wins, even though he's already president for 4 years and it went very well, they didn't like his tweets, and they don't like that. Well, it's understatement to say they don't like him. They hate. They're good at hating. Hating is their area. Governing, not so much. Economics, not so much. National security, not at all. Controlling our border, not on their list of things that they're good at. Just amazing stuff. Panic in the Democrat Party, and that can only lead to bad things, as we know. Looting, arson, violence, mob street, political violence. You know, when Trump wins, I gotta tell you, the Democrat Party is out of control. You know that a recent study reports that the rapidly declining global birth rate will lead to a major population crisis if birth rates continue to decline at this rate. While we may feel hopeless and the constant attack on human life by you-know-who, there is an amazing way to fight back. When they shout abortion, we shout life. Preborn. Do you know preborn? Preborn is leading the way. Every day, the Preborn Network rescues 200 unborn babies. When a mother sees her baby in an ultrasound and hears the heartbeat of her baby, a baby's chance at life could double. Now, the ultrasound is a secret weapon that joins the heart of the mother with the heart of her child, with her child. Preborn provides ultrasounds for clinics in the highest abortion areas in the United States of America. And we can join hands nationwide for life, can't we? One ultrasound is just $28, but any gift at all will help. $5,000 will underwrite ultrasounds for the entire network for a full day from coast to coast. All your gifts are tax deductible, of course. To donate, all you have to do is dial pound 250 on your phone. You dial pound 250, and when prompted, you say the keyword baby. That's pound 250 on your phone. The keyword is baby. Or you could visit preborn.com/plant. That's preborn.com/PLANTE, and you can donate there and save lives as well. Yeah, so the Democrats in a sweaty panic, and Carville's got rubber sheets because he keeps wetting his bed, and they're freaked out more than usual because they see Joe Biden. They know they lied to us about it, and this story says that they go on TV and they lie to us about it. They talk to newspapers and they lie to us about it. Don't let liars stay in power. Don't let the liars stay in control. All right, President Trump, New York court coming up. Biden sending a representative to babble to his friends in the press outside the courthouse. Jury tampering. Joe Biden should be in a penitentiary. What do you think? That's for 350 years. Let's put him in there. Let's grab a phone call in the meantime, though. Let's go to Barry calling from Mississippi. Barry, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Good morning. It's good to talk to you again. It's been a while, and I'm grateful to be able to speak to you for a moment. I just wanted to say a couple of things about the election. First of all, you mentioned the poll numbers, and even the liberal polls are showing Trump ahead. But the people out here, just in general, rural Mississippi, and I know it's somewhat conservative, but everyone I've talked to is sick of Joe Biden and supports Trump. So I think the polls out on the street are the same as the polls they conduct on the phone. And, I'm almost 64, Chris. In my life, I thought I'd seen some terrible presidents, but never have I seen one as bad as this. And I remember when Rush Limbaugh had not been on the air very long, and Bill Clinton was elected, and his his bumper intro was America held hostage, and with Joe Biden, it's more like America, executed, put in a box and buried alive somewhere. And so, we're in terrible times as a country. And just the last thing, I saw a clever meme, and not to, disrespect anyone who was on the Titanic, but this little meme said, electing Joe Biden again is like the Titanic backing up and hitting the iceberg twice.
Yeah.
So we're in bad times.
Yes, we are, Barry, and you're right. I think the polls are a pretty much an accurate reflection of where the country is, I hope. Well, our entire political system is a cesspool of idiocy and radicals and extremists, and they call themselves Democrats. The Biden campaign has sent a delegation to the courthouse in New York, and the news media found their microphones. Did you notice that? For President Trump, he's been coming out every day. They couldn't get a microphone anywhere in his vicinity. But when the Democrats show up, they've got a rack of microphones that would, choke a beluga whale. And they're all on mic stands. They all have their mic flags on them. And they opened with Michael Tyler, the Biden campaign communications director, who's a POC. He's got to be a POC. And now they've got Robert DeNiro, the failed former actor, at the microphones, spreading hate and anger. And they're already this Michael Tyler radical, who's an extremist and a fascist. He and the Biden campaign communications director said, he opened with a lie. We're not here because of what's going on over there, gesturing to the Trump trial in the building over his shoulder. And that's a lie. No, that's exactly why you're there, of course. Then he looked at the press and he said, we're here because you're here. Right? Well, they're there because Trump is there. And they brought Robert DeNiro, and they brought two cops from January 6th, because January 6th, they're talking about January, they're hanging their kufis. Those are the hats that Osama bin Laden wore, a Muslim kufi hat. and they're lying and talking about, oh, the violence, the mob violence. You guys defined mob violence. You guys normalized mob violence before January 6th. There was no January 6th that ever would have happened if you guys had not absolutely mainstreamed and normalized street mob political violence, which is the Democrat Party today, absolutely defined by your mob street political violence. I've got a friend in Chicago, Vinny D, and he's talking about the Democratic National Convention coming up in Chicago, and everybody there believes that it's going to be much, much worse than 1968. Of course, the Democrats can switch it on and switch it off. They control this violence, and they use it for their political circus and to political effect. But this Michael Tyler guy came out and lied, a series of lies, because he's a lying Sacagawea, and then turned the microphone over to a guy who used to be a good actor. You know, if you want to go back to the 1970s, he was a good actor. Now he's a demented, crusty lunatic, a radical left-wing extremist, a nutcase. But he's got the microphones in front of the courthouse today. This is at approximately the location where a Democrat self-immolated. And you may recall, set himself on fire, didn't even scream. It's kind of hard to scream, when the lining of your lungs is on fire. But this is about where a Democrat set himself on fire. And now Robert DeNiro is engaging in a kind of psychic self-immolation in front of the courthouse as well, a cultural self-immolation. And DeNiro is saying crazy stuff. We're going to turn around some of the audio for you about what DeNiro is saying. It's the end of democracy. It's the end of the world as we know it. And he feels fine. Remarkable stuff going on all over the place. Man, the Democrat Party has lost its mind. And, this end of democracy rhetoric. Donald Trump was already president for 4 years. And we had 1.2% inflation, and we had interest rates between 2% and 3% for buying homes. We had peace and not war in Europe. We had peace and not war in the Middle East. President Trump secured 3 or 4 peace deals between Israel and Arab nations. They named a village in Israel after Donald Trump. And there was peace breaking out everywhere. Our economy was booming. Our grocery store shelves were bountiful. Prices were low. Things have gone up, 30% in food prices since Joe Biden took office, 40% in energy prices since Joe Biden took office. War in Europe, war in the Middle East. You can't even get a ship into the Suez Canal by way of the Red Sea anymore. It's, you guys. And now they put on a show. I've been saying for years that our entire political system has been reduced to a terrible cable television show. And now they've got this show, and the media suddenly found a microphone stand, and all the microphones are there because the Democrats showed up. The Biden campaign showed up. And now the press, they've got perfect audio of the entire event. They've got Robert DeNiro. They've got 2 cops from January 6th, I wonder if they brought Lieutenant Byrd, who shot and murdered Ashley Babbitt after she served 12 years in the Air Force, in the United States Air Force, honorably. And then she was shot and killed while unarmed and smiling and laughing for the alleged crime of trespassing at the People's House, as Nancy Pelosi used to call it. If it's the People's House, couldn't Ashley Babbitt walk through there after serving 12 years in the Air Force? Boy, I got to tell you, it's all a horrible cable television show, isn't it? Yes, it is. And our media, the most corrupt institution in America. That's a fact, Jack. We've got a bit of audio for you from what is going on in front of the Trump courthouse. They want to turn into a bigger clown car, a bigger circus. Trump should go down there and challenge DeNiro to a boxing match right now. I know he played Jake LaMotta about 50 years ago, but he doesn't look like he's in that kind of shape anymore, I tell you. Here is Michael Tyler, who showed up in front of the courthouse with this entourage, and they walked up like doing the gangsta walk, looking like tough guys. And they got 2 cops from January 6th, which was one of about 500 riots. The other 499 of them were Democrat Party violence, where they literally injured more than 2,000 police officers. According to the insurance company, the insurance industry, they inflicted more than $2 billion in property damage while injuring more than 2,000 police officers from coast to coast. And they burned, they sacked, they looted, and now, looting is perfectly normal. Here is Michael Tyler, representative of Joe Biden's presidential campaign. Didn't know he had a campaign, didn't know he had a communications director at the campaign, but his name is Michael Tyler.
Thank you so much for being here. First of all, let me say this first and foremost. We're not here today because of what's going on over there.
Lie.
We're here today because you all are here. And so we are proud. We are glad that you're all here this morning. We're here primarily because of the threat that Donald Trump poses to the United States of America and to our democracy.
Right. Yeah. Well, he was president for 4 years. What kind of a threat did he? Was China threatening Taiwan? Was, North Korea was being North Korea here and there, but President Trump was slapping around Kim Jong-un. President Trump was slapping around Vlad the Impaler Putin. Then Biden came in, and Putin is like, yeah, they got a sock puppet in the White House. I'm going to take what I want. All right? President Trump was shaming NATO member nations into paying their fair share. They love to talk about paying their fair share, don't they? But it's a big lie. And Michael Tyler, yeah, we're here because of the threat that he poses. You guys are the threat. You're the left. You represent the most murderous gang of criminals in the history of humankind. Communism, the left. Just extraordinary. Then Robert DeNiro, how sad. I used to, like Robert De Niro as an actor. He used to be able to act. Then he started doing these idiotic movies and pretending to be something that I guess he is now. Robert De Niro in front of the courthouse.
I mean, this is really, even these people over here are it's kind of crazy. It's really crazy. And this thing, Donald Trump has created this.
Pause that a sec.
He should be telling them not to do this.
President Trump should be telling them not to do this. There are people in the background yelling, which has been going on for the entire history of the trial here. I think there should be more self-immolations. I think more Democrats should be self-immolating. It's part of the suicidal death cult, the Jonestown cult that they are. And so De Niro starts speaking, and he's like, oh, Trump should come here and tell those people not to yell. They're probably your people, Bobby.
But he's just, he wants to sow total, he wants to sow total chaos.
Nobody wrote his lines for him.
Succeeding in some areas and places to do.
He wants to sow total chaos. You guys burned Seattle and Portland and Minneapolis and St. Paul and Chicago and New York and Washington. You looted my neighborhood twice. In fact, there was a big police presence in my neighborhood last night over an apparent looter. 11 police cars on the corner and an hour-long interrogation of a guy rolling like a backpack, but a piece of luggage with wheels and Robert De Niro in front of the Trump courthouse in New York. And what is he talking about? He's babbling incoherently. This is what happens when you put an actor out there without somebody else's lines to read.
I love this city.
It stinks right now.
I love this city. I don't want to destroy it.
You've destroyed it.
Donald Trump wants to destroy not only the city, but the country, and eventually he could destroy the world.
Oh, well, he's quite ambitious. No, Democrats have destroyed the city. Rudy Giuliani saved the city from you morons, from you miscreants. And he was a Republican, by the way, and now you're trying to put him in prison like all third world, tree-swinging, leftist, banana-eating third worlders. But never mind that. Yeah, and he wants to destroy the city. You know, I work every day with people that work in New York City and some that live in New York City, and they're all horrified by what has happened to New York City. Everybody's horrified by what's happened in New York City, and Donald Trump didn't do that. Democrats did that. Washington, D.C., some would argue, has been rendered unlivable. It's teetering on the brink, and it's because of Democrats. Seattle and Portland and Los Angeles and San Francisco have been rendered virtually unlivable by Democrats, every stinking one of them. You fool. And it goes on. And you guys have committed more mob violence since the death of George Fentanyl Floyd, St. George of Fentanyl, than we've seen in the 50 years preceding that. And it was all Democrats, every bit of it, Democrats, 100% of it, Democrats. But they showed up for a press conference in front of the Trump courthouse and saying, we're not here because that's the Trump courthouse. That's a filthy lie. Donald Trump is destroying New York City. He grew up in New York City. He grew up in Queens. He built more skyscrapers in New York City than you've desecrated, DeNiro. Amazing. Just amazing. So they brought an actor. They brought two cops from January 6th on Capitol Hill who are victims, but they didn't bring the 180 cops that were injured in front of the White House by left-wing rioters who set the Church of the Presidents on fire, who drove business from the city, who drove government out of this city. Honestly, you guys. So that's your Democrat Party. That's what they do. It's a terrible television show. They bring an actor and a couple of two cops from one incident. And they go around. Who was the idiot the other day that said, oh, it was Bill Maher the other day. Well, all these cops were killed at the Capitol on January 6th. Who was he talking to? He was talking to, what's her name? Megyn Kelly. And Bill Maher saying, oh, yeah, well, so many cops were killed on January 6th. They're stupid, they're ignorant, they're ill-informed, they've been propagandized, and Robert De Niro is a disgrace to the Italian people.
That's why I needed to be involved and wanted to be involved in the new Biden-Harris ad.
What?
Because it shows the violence of Trump.
The violence of
and
Trump.
Reminds us that he'll use violence against anyone who stands in the way of his megalomania, but it's a coward's violence. You think Trump ever threw a punch himself or took one? This guy who ran and hid in the White House bunker when there were protesters outside? No way.
Oh, that was the incident where 3 days of riots, a 3-day assault on the White House that forced the Secret Service for the first time since the War of 1812, since the British invasion of Washington in 1814, to evacuate the president and the first family because of a threat of mob violence outside the White House. The moment when they set the Church of the Presidents, St. John's Church, 1814 church, on fire. Oh, is that it? And he was a coward for being evacuated by the Secret Service. I think Trump would beat up De Niro. What do you think? Would Trump beat? I think Trump would beat up De Niro. He'd give him a shellacking. So this is the Democrat Party, and the news media will gush. They want to have sex with him. I'm telling you, this is madness. Now, what's going to happen in the Trump trial? We'll update you on that, what's happening today, what's happening at this moment, and what will the jury do? That is coming up.
And unfortunately, I can add just a moment ago, it does appear that St. John's Church is on fire.
We just got word that the Democrats have fired on Fort Sumter. They've fired on Fort Sumter again. This is complete madness. It's show business. It is completely untethered to reality. And Robert De Niro is demented. It's tragic what's happened to him. And he's saying things that are completely nuts.
It's no surprise that the murder rate and other violent crimes peaked under Trump and are
No, they didn't.
falling under Biden.
No, they're
and
not.
Now he's promising to use our own military to attack U.S. citizens. That's the tyrant.
He's promising to use the U.S. military to attack U.S. citizens, Robert De Niro said. And there will be nobody there in the fake news media to check him out, anything. And I'm sorry, violent crime peaked under Trump. It's no surprise. No. Washington, D.C. last year had the highest murder rate in 26 years. Had, 960 carjackings last year in a city that's 61 square miles of dirt. And we also know that cities across the country are not even reporting their crime stats up to the Justice Department anymore for a variety of reasons, mostly political. De Niro is an ignorant person. That's not surprising. He's a Hollywood actor, after all. And the Hollywood elites are in bed with Joe Biden, whose brain doesn't work at all. That is not surprising. Not surprising one bit. Just extraordinary stuff. And the news media is telling us, oh, no, crime's down. But they leave out the part where cities are actually not reporting up, and fewer people are reporting crimes, and there are fewer police on the streets of many cities because the Democrats have defunded and reduced the number of police. And people aren't reporting as many crimes, property crimes, and even some violent crimes because of the total collapse in confidence in our public institutions. But it gives idiot actors like Robert De Niro an opportunity to parrot Democrat Party talking points, and that's about all they've got. And the New York Times, I went and looked it up when I heard him saying that. The New York Times said 2 days ago, this is what De Niro saw, the headline. He probably didn't read it beyond the headline. Even as violent crime drops, lawlessness rises as an election issue. That's because we all know about lawlessness, and your crime stats are just one more thing that we don't trust anymore, that we don't have confidence in anymore.